And as you heard from his intro, my guest today on the Paracave podcast is a former professional rugby league player with two clubs in the NRL, the Sydney City Roosters, and the club that I love, the Parramatta Eels, but also played the majority of his career in the English Superleague with three clubs, Wakefield Trinity, the Bradford Bulls, and also the Warrington Wolves, but has also represented Samoa and New Zealand in international football. And with it being the 75th anniversary of the Eels in the competition, who better to get on for a chat than my next guest, who has played a part in the Eels' history. Welcome to the Paracave podcast, David Solomona.
Cheers, Troy. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Now, born in Auckland, New Zealand, and going to a well-known schoolboy rugby league school, was rugby league always the sport for you to play, or was it something that you wanted to chase as a career, or were there other sports that you were interested in playing?
Yeah, I was just a typical kid who loved playing a bit of sport, but rugby league was probably our sport of choice growing up in the household that I grew up in. Grew up with a lot of my family members, my uncles, my cousins, and they all played rugby league. But I was a massive basketball player as well. I love basketball. We had a big backyard at our house, which eventually got concreted, and we turned it into a basketball court. So I loved a bit of basketball, but rugby league obviously was my sport of choice growing up, and I dabbled in a few sports, obviously, as any kid did growing up in New Zealand or Australia. A bit of cricket, a bit of basketball, a bit of volleyball, a bit of rugby.
A bit of everything.
But yeah, eventually was able to have a career in rugby league.
Now, growing up, was there much coverage in New Zealand of rugby league from Australia?
There was. I was a bit of a Canberra fan growing up, and that was only because I remember watching Canberra play against Balmain and that in the early '90s, late '80s, and but I was a kid who followed his local team. Yeah, so I played at a club called Richmond, which was my local club, and my dream was always to try and play in the top team. They called in the Premiers when I was growing up. So my dream was always to, possibly play for the Prems when I got a bit older and try and succeed there. But I watched a bit of league growing up. I was actually a big rugby union fan, and I still am to this day. I grew up only 5-10 minute walk from Eden Park, which is the big main rugby ground here in Auckland. And I was a big rugby fan.
So, who were some of the players for your local team that you used to love watch, and also who were some of the Canberra players that you used to love to watch play?
Yeah, you probably wouldn't know any of the local players that I grew up watching, but there were some of the. I was lucky. My uncles, I had a few uncles that my dad's younger brothers that played, and some of my dad's little cousins they played, and I kind of supported those guys. Yep. I'm really fortunate to have been around a club that had guys like Nigel and Joe Vagana playing in those teams as well. And even I caught up with him 2 weeks ago, Antonio Winterstein. His old man, Vinny Winterstein, was he was a small dude but could smash anyone that ran at him. So yeah, I was telling Tones the other day, man, I grew up idolizing your dad, man. He was a massive player. So like I said, I grew up supporting my local team. And that's who I wanted to, as any kid going down to the local park and having, your local players you want to support. But my favorite Canberra player is Brett Mullins. Yeah. If anyone knows me through my teenage years, I would always try and catch a bomb and scream out Mullins. And I love Brett Mullins. And I was a Blues supporter because of the Canberra players that they had, Brad Clyde, Laurie Daly, Ricky Stewart, Glenn Lazarus, because of those guys, I kind of wanted to support the Blues.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in the day when Parramatta were doing it a bit tough, I was a Parramatta fan March to September, and then come the finals, I was a Canberra fan. So we've got something in common there.
That's a lot of dudes. Yeah, Ziva, you loved growing up in Auckland. You either loved Canberra or you hated Manly.
I'm the same. Hate Manly. I've been a Parra fan, but Yeah, no, very fortunate to have Brett Mullins on the podcast, actually.
He's
And it was a
good,
great
man.
chat, and great bloke, had a great career. Was there any thought or wanting to play for the Auckland Warriors?
Yeah, I was one of those kids who never made any rep teams. Yeah, growing up, I didn't aspire to be a full-time professional footballer, only because that never seemed like a possibility growing up. I never made any junior rep teams up until probably my last year in high school, and
Okay.
yeah, I was picked up playing, picked in the New Zealand secondary school side, playing for my school. So yeah, as you alluded to earlier, my school was a pretty decent footy school, and made the New Zealand secondary schools, and played against the Australian junior Kangaroos team, who had guys like Lance Thompson, Adam Ritson was the big star
Oh,
back
yeah,
then,
yeah.
and yeah, I was really fortunate to get man of the match in that game, and got signed at the Warriors literally off one game. So
Wow.
yeah, so I played my junior footy at the Warriors, and yeah, probably just like anyone, like being in that environment, playing in your local club. Um, yeah, I was just obviously wanted to play. I don't know if I've said this before, but yeah, I guess my one regret ever from footy is not having played at least one game for the Warriors. I kind of
Okay. Yeah.
wish that I did, only because all my mates that I grew up with back home, they all played at the Warriors. But yeah, I would have loved to, but it didn't eventuate, and ended up moving over to Australia.
Yeah, well, you move over to Australia and you end up at the Roosters. How was it that you got to the Roosters? And was there any other clubs that wanted you?
Yeah, in the end of 1997, so Super League was there, and I was at the I was at the Warriors, the under 19 squad there. I kind of made a decision then that I might try and leave and sign. I actually got flown over to have a look at Melbourne. Went over with my uncle. Didn't have a manager or anything.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, was still kind of new to this whole footy stuff, and the Warriors had only been around for 3 years by then, and had a look at the club there, and decided actually just to come back to New Zealand and sign at the Warriors. And I guess for me, it was built out of a bit of fear about leaving home. I just started dating my my then girlfriend, who became my wife. I didn't want to leave home, so I ended up coming back, and coming back to the Warriors. I ended up training full time, but man, I when I look back now, yeah, I'd never really been part of the club. They kind of allowed me to train full time with the squad,
Yeah.
but I didn't get a team number. Didn't get to get everything that the full time players got. I wasn't in the team photo. I was the only guy that trained
Okay.
full time that wasn't in the team photo. Yeah, so I kind of had I knew by the end of that year, 1998, it was time to leave. So yeah, I didn't want to spend another year playing reserve grade. I was one of the only guys in the full time squad that didn't get a game that year. So
Yeah, that's
decided
fair
to
enough.
up and leave and move to Australia.
Was it the late great Arthur Beetson who got you to the Roosters?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. Yeah, Artie signed me up at the Roosters. Almost signed at the end of that year. Almost signed at Canberra. Like the Raiders come over and played a game against the Warriors mid 1998, and I was a massive Canberra fan. My dad's a massive
Yeah, that would have
Queensland
been
fan. So yeah, like I was really close to signing at Canberra. I had a good friend, Leslie Vanikolo, that I played with, that had
Oh, yeah.
signed there the year before, and I was close to signing there, but ended up meeting Artie, and Artie kind of sold the club to me, and yeah, I guess the rest is history. My dad kind of met Artie and was like, "You're definitely going to sign at the club." So yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, I had Dean Witters on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he basically said the same thing. Artie went out to Armidale and had dinner with the family, and his dad said, if Arthur can come out here and have dinner with us,
Yeah.
then you're signing with the Roosters. So
No,
certainly,
the Roosters ended up flying my father and myself and my uncle over. Yeah, at I think during the finals or grand final of 1998, and yeah, got my dad to spend a bit of time with Artie as well. And
nice.
I think he did a bit of it as recruitment, but also he was just such a nice guy. Like he was just so friendly, like loved by everyone. Would happily go and sit with legends up in the bar, or sit with the the fans down on the sideline. So yeah, he was such an endearing man, and yeah, I guess having someone like him sell the club to you was a pretty easy buy to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you may not have heard it much, but us fans did. How did you feel when commentators used to say that your one-armed offloads used to remind them of Arthur Beetson?
Yeah, man. To be honest, I didn't get to watch too many of Artie's games, and then in the time since and up until now, I've watched many of his games, and nowhere close to what that man did. He was such a legend. He was, not only could he do the flashy stuff, he loved the tough stuff as well. And I guess for me, being associated with Artie by being recruited by him, the Roosters, I'm happy with that. Yeah. Nothing to do with my football ability or that. I wouldn't even put me in the same book as if we were discussing Artie. So he's definitely a legend, and there were so many great players that have come through that they love to talk about being close to Artie, but he had such a large bag of tricks that offloads was just one of the many things he did.
Yeah, for sure, legend of the game, missed very much. Just on those offloads that you had in your game, was that a instinct thing or something that you worked on or coached, was coached into you for your game?
Yeah, I guess it was just something that just come naturally. Speaking earlier about how I love basketball, I think basketball is a game where you have to have a lot of peripheral vision and get used to handling the ball. I'm really fortunate. I got some pretty big hands as well, so able to kind of offload with both hands. But yeah, it was definitely not something that was coached into me, and I think it was something that was tried to coach out of me, to be honest, when I played footy, and in particular when I was in the NRL. It was something that it came naturally to me, and I don't think it always paid off, but I was pretty lucky that I've been known as someone who could offload.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in those early days at the Roosters, who were the players that sort of took you under their wings, so to speak, and also how did you find being the young kid in a new country? How did you find that transition?
Yeah, great question. It was pretty tough. It was actually it was really tough coming to Sydney. Sydney's a pretty big bad city and can eat you up and spit you out if you don't do well. And I guess over my time working in the game and playing, I've seen so many guys come over to Australia and in particular to Sydney, and that exactly was the scenario for guys that come over, and Sydney will kind of chew them up and spit them out because you can caught up in the lifestyle and everything. But I was fortunate. I come to the Roosters and they had some really good people there at the club, actually great staff members behind the scenes. I was lucky they had Brian Canavan working there, Bernie Gurr, John Hutchinson, who was a mentor to me. But then, I had players like Dino, Andrew Walker. So Unc looked after a lot of us. And then I had a few island boys that were at the club, Andrew Lumu, Nelson Lumi, who looked after me. And then, again, really fortunate to have guys like Quinton Pongia and Richie Barnett who were at the club. But the club was really endearing to me, man. They looked after me. They had a lot of... probably one of my favourite years of footy that I had was 1999, living in Sydney, playing mostly reserve grade at the Roosters, and just, playing to 100 people at Cogra or playing to... 50 people at Henson Park. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I think for me, it taught me how to train as hard as I can and reap the rewards from that. And I had someone like Artie Katinas, who was the coach then, who, I really looked up to and helped me out a lot. Well,
you actually did play a couple of first grade games in 99, and I think the first one you came off the bench, and it must have been around Origin time. What stood out for you in your debut game against Melbourne?
Yeah, I got smacked from Danny Williams. That's one thing I remember.
Okay.
But just being real nervous. I was really fortunate that I went to the Roosters because they had a whole stack of Origin players at the club then. So I know that David Barnell, Brian Fletcher, they were all back rowers. So they went away on Origin duty, and I was able to kind of come in there. And I think that around that time at the Roosters, they had the New Zealand captain, the Australian captain, the New South Wales captain, and the Queensland captain all playing at the same club.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So it was full of rep players. But I just remember being nervous going down there, real cold in Melbourne, real hostile, and everyone kind of remembers their first game. But just remember being really nervous and feeling proud. One thing I kind of look back now and I see a lot of guys able to debut and have their families there. It wasn't something that really happened back then. My family stayed in Auckland, New Zealand, and weren't able to come over. And
no.
I don't know if I got told like midweek that I was playing as well. So really nervous about going to Melbourne, but enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, it's a tough road trip to Melbourne. As I said, you played 2 games off the bench in '99, but you were coached by Phil Gould. What was he like as a coach for you?
Yeah, Gus was pretty intense. I think if Gus stayed around for that following year, I don't know how long my career would have been. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, they had, he had some pretty experienced players at that club, and he was happy to use them. And my reserve grade team had a lot of good players, but we were all pretty young. My reserve grade team had Shannon Hegarty, Ryan Cross, Anthony Milicello, Peter Cusack. We were stacked full of players that had a lot of potential, but no one was really getting a shoe in into the first grade team. So I think having someone like Graham Murray come in and want to set his own kind of mark within the club, he was able to bring in some new young players, and I was fortunate that I was someone who got picked straight away in the first game, the following season.
Yeah, definitely, because you played 19 games in 2000, including the grand final. Was it then that you sort of thought that you'd made first grade playing those consistent games?
Possibly. Yeah, I think the back end of the season, I was still learning how to play first grade. And like I said earlier, that Roosters team was so stacked when I was there. They had numerous Australian, New Zealand, Origin players playing across the park, and I guess getting to the grand final, being able to play in the grand final was something that made me feel like I finally cemented a spot within the game. But the truth was I was heartbroken that I was leaving. The club were really good to me. It was the only place I knew. I know that when I signed at another club, when I signed at Para, the first few weeks I was still driving to the Roosters trainings and waiting for the boys to finish training and hanging out with them. So, again, I enjoyed the experience at the Roosters.
What are your memories of that 2000 grand final?
Yeah, man, I remember the camp going in. So, I can remember the playoffs going in and just thinking, oh man, we're going to win this. I don't know if we were the favourites for any of our playoff games, and I can remember the elation of winning against Newcastle in the semi to get in the grand final, and then just hoping, I hope I get picked in the grand final team. So, the grand final I played in 2 grand finals and lost 2. That first one against the Broncos. Man, when you talk about stacked teams, that team had, guys like Lottie and Wendell on the wings, and then guys like Webke and Thorne and Kevin Walters, and it was such an amazing team. And I say I lost to Lockyer one year and lost to Johns the next year, but I remember not being as disappointed as I was in 2001 and 2000, only because of my journey and understanding where I had come from. Only 2 years earlier, I was at a club I couldn't even get in the first grade team, and then now I'm playing in a grand final.
Grand final, yeah, definitely.
So for me, I was obviously, as a competitive person, disappointed about not winning, but I was still really grateful to have been on the field and got to play the game.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you go down in that grand final, but you moved to Parramatta in 2001. Was it Brian Smith who got you over to Parramatta?
It was.
Was that for more opportunity? Did you think?
Yeah, I think Brian. The way that Brian sold it to me was, he saw me in my plans for the rebuilding of the club. Like he did speak to me about the fact that they've got a lot of real young players, and they've got a young captain, they've got a young leadership team, and yeah, this is a team that will hopefully over the next 3 to 5 years be able to build something. So when I looked over and saw some of the players that they had at the club, I thought, why not? And I think even that playoff run in 2000, watching them in 99 and 2000 and seeing the young players that they had at the club, you could tell that they were building something special over at Para. I was really nervous about moving out there, again, only because all I had known was the Roosters. But Brian had kind of sold it to me that, you come here, you get an opportunity to play. And the Roosters, early on in mid 2000, they had already made the intentions of signing Adrian Morley and said to a few of us, we're going to sign up Moz. And I said this on a podcast recently. I would have sold 5 guys to get Adrian Morley if I knew the type of player he was. You know what I mean? So
yeah, definitely champion player. Well, that 2001 season, not only for Parramatta fans but for rugby league fans, was certainly enjoyable to watch Parramatta play. Was it coached by Brian Smith that way, or was it just ad lib and just as you guys saw on the field, it just happened?
Yeah,
because it was so exciting to watch. I mean, teams with their offloads and stuff that's so hard to defend against.
Yeah, I can remember playing against Cronulla. I don't know if it was like round 3 or round 5 and losing at Cronulla and thinking, oh man, this, we're so inconsistent. Like I think we had won 3 of our first 5 or something, or 3 of our first, I can't remember.
Yeah, because I think it started off win, loss, draw, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and just thinking, oh man, it's going to be a long year. And then, man, the truth was the rest of the year was a blur. Like I just felt like every game we'd score 50 points and we'd stop the team from scoring. And I remember going to play a game up in against the Broncos up in Brisbane, and Michael Butner used to bring a set of weights to the change room, and he'd be in there like doing hand cleans and that. And I remember like a few boys joking around, and I remember thinking in my head, this is going to be the game where we're going to falter here, because like I feel like the bubble's going to burst a bit here. But yeah, we went out and won the game, and I just felt like throughout the season, most of the season, just the level of intensity, the way that we played, it was just probably one of my most memorable seasons in regards to enjoying my footy, having fun with the guys that I played with, and then just being in amazement of some of the stuff that some of the players were doing. It was when I look back now and think of how young that team was,
definitely, for sure.
I can't remember a team of players so young but being so dominant across the comp.
No, that's it, and records still stand today. Was there much difference in your preparation for that grand final of 2001 compared to the 2000? Because I think you would have been the only player that had grand final experience.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can vividly remember was 2000. We went into camp. We went to a hotel, I think Double Bay or somewhere, when I was at the Roosters, and we had a meeting the night before, and had a few guys crying, talking about how this is a big moment, and club hadn't been in the grand final for a couple of years. And then I remember 2001. We didn't go into camp. We kind of just met at Roseville Racecourse, like we normally do. And I don't know if looking back now, we kind of try to treat it like a normal game, which I think at the time we kind of felt like there was the best preparation for us. But in hindsight, it might not have been the best thing for us to do. But in regards to the preparation, I guess try to treat it like any other game. And to be honest, I can't remember too much of what I did the night before the game or that. But I can just remember that we went into camp when I was at the Roosters, and we didn't when I was at the Eels.
What about the actual game of 2001, the grand final? 24-0 at halftime. What were you guys thinking, and what do you think went wrong?
Yeah, I think they just come out of the gates, really fast, and we had a few crucial errors during the game, and made a few silly decisions, and The truth was at 24-0, I didn't even think I thought we'd score 24 points easy. I think, I don't know what the final score was, like 30-24, I think. But I just remember thinking, man, like I remember sitting on the bench and it was already 24-0 and thinking, I just want to get on there and have a dig at trying to help us get ahead there. But it was shell shocked, probably the word to use. And they played sort of game plan, and again there was no indication that we were going to play at that level in the grand final. Although I would say I remember playing the Broncos in the semi-final, and we had so many errors in that game, and it was kind of like, whoa, we haven't had this for a long time. And I remember the Broncos were injury ravaged as well, so we kind of made the game a tough game for ourselves. So I guess we didn't have the greatest preparation going into that, and then having a week off and then going into the grand final. But again, just probably shell shock.
Yeah, I mean, us fans were too. I think, what's going on? But
you're telling me.
I've always maintained though, if the game was maybe 5 minutes longer, Parramatta could have jagged it, I think. But
100, man, yeah. The truth is, I've never watched that game ever. I've never watched that.
Same.
Yeah,
same.
I've probably watched something and then the highlights come on and then I've just turned away. But I've never watched any portion of that game. Never wanted to watch any replay. It's too hard to watch.
Nah, that's the same for me. I've got a DVD here of that 2001 season, and switch it off after the prelim final against the Broncos, and whenever it's on TV, I always flick the channel or whatever. It's so disappointing, that game, but it happened. And the next season, Parra make the finals, but unfortunately knocked out by Brisbane. Now, you didn't score a try all year. What happens at Parramatta if you don't score a try?
I think it's normally a nudie run. Yeah, man, I didn't even know that I didn't score a try. Actually, man, I'm not I'm not a drinker or anything as well. So man, I wasn't really doing any of the larrikin kind of stuff that the boys did. But I do remember we played the Broncos, I think, up in Brisbane, and we were on the plane. And they actually, on the plane, they said to us, we didn't make the playoffs. I don't know if we were waiting for the game after us to kind of let us know whether we were in or out. And I remember us talking about rehab, training. And then when they said we're out, I remember the boys just straight away, can I get a couple of beers? Just disappointed. So, it was that following year was, it was such a contrast to 2001.
Yeah, for sure. What was Brian Smith like, your coach at Parra, for you, for your career, and also when you were at the Eels?
I will say Brian's probably the smartest coach that I've ever had. Like a lot of the techniques in regards to understanding the game, a lot of the way that I kind of viewed the game was through his lens, and the way that he was able to coach that into myself and the players. I think he was someone who was able to bring new things into the game. I think personality wise, I probably struggled to connect with Brian at times. But in saying that, it's such a highly stressful job, and I can just imagine how much pressure he would have been under. But I ended up leaving the club because I struggled to kind of have a relationship with him. And by the time I was ready to go at the end of 2003, I was still contracted at the club, but I asked the club, could I leave?
Okay.
And that was probably, that was definitely built around my relationship with Brian. It had gone to the point where, we just, we were struggling to connect with each other.
And did he mutually agree then to give you that release? Yeah,
I think, man, by the time it got to that point, he'd happily allowed me to leave. I think it got to the point, obviously, that he didn't want me at the club, and again, trying to find, it's like any workplace, you want to be where you feel valued.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
I was struggling to find that sense of value within the club when I was there. So, again, in saying that, I've got nothing but nice things to say about Brian. Such a great person, great man. I'm really grateful for the opportunities he gave me to play at Para. And like I said earlier, like some of the stuff that he taught me in 2001, I was still using some of that stuff when I finished in 2012.
Yeah, wow. I've heard that, and I had Brett Delaney on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he's now getting into coaching, and he's using some of Brian's coaching methods these days. So, certainly had a massive influence at Parramatta. Speaking of someone else who might have had a massive influence on yourself, was another New Zealander in the Eels, and he was also your captain, Nathan Kalis. What was he like as a leader at such a young age?
Yeah, I think there's a few different types of leadership styles within footy in that, and you've got guys who are big talkers and can get you motivated, and then you've got guys who don't talk too much but they lead by their actions. And I've been really fortunate in my career to have played under some, in particular, some really hard-nosed props who aren't big talkers but are great with their actions. And Nath Kalis, I hold him up there with Ruben Wiki and Adrian Morley. One thing, Nath, he wouldn't ask you to do anything that he wasn't willing to do himself. And the amount of preparation he put into games, he was just a leader in every aspect of his life. And I thought he was, just such a influential person at the club at that time and within the game as well. I remember playing in the Kiwis, and he got picked as captain in the Kiwis, and he was only like 21, 22, and he had guys that had played 30, 40 tests playing in the Kiwis. And I remember thinking, oh man, how's he going to go with this? But he was like a fish to water. He's born to lead, I think. And within footy, like, again, great leader, but outside of footy, just the top bloke. Yeah, someone I really looked up to. I'm actually a little bit older than Nath, but someone that I've always looked up to within my footy career. Really grateful to have played with someone like him, and really grateful to call him a friend as well.
What about the other Nathan? Fine, what's he like? Is he the complete opposite, or the same?
Man, like when I was there, probably the three big name young players was Kalis, Hindy, and Mick Vella. So I remember at that time they signed like these 4-year deals. They were like $1.2, $1.4 million contracts over 4 years. Like not $1 million. Yeah, and back then we were just like, whoa, these guys just signed for like 400 grand or something. But Hindy again, he was just. I remember saying to Hindy, no one likes fitness, and he goes, I do.
Really?
And he was just a hard trainer. Like he would push himself to where he couldn't run anymore, like at training. Like you'd see him at a beep test and he'd get to level 10 and he looked like he's gonna die, and then I'd drop out at like, I don't know, 11 or something, and then guys would start dropping out at 12, and he'd look like he was gonna faint at 12, and then he's just still going at 13, and he was just able to push himself mentally. And I actually believe like Nathan Hamash is probably one of the greatest players I've ever been able to play with, man. I know he gets a lot of slack on TV. He did set someone that when I played with, I used to just be in awe of how amazing he was. And a lot of players talk about his defense. He used to tackle heaps of people and chase people down, but he was such an amazing attacking player as well. And if he get out in the open, no one could catch him. Wingers, fullbacks, nobody.
Especially in those early years.
And he'd do that off the back of making 40, 50 tackles, you know what I mean? And we used to get a score sheet at Para. This was long before probably other clubs were doing this. And we used to get a score sheet of like everything, every little incidental play. And he would consistently have the highest score out of everyone. Like if someone had like a score of 14 or, 20 something, he'd get a score of like 115 or something. And it'd just be because he was so consistent at everything he did within the game. So yeah, Hindy's top bloke, man. Nice guy as well.
Probably my favourite ever, the Eel.
Yeah, I just wish they bought him some bigger shorts though.
yeah, all tighter ones. Something so they didn't fall down. Yeah, so they didn't fall down, yeah. Now, we know that the Blue and Gold Army are very passionate fans. How do they rank amongst the fan groups that you've played for?
Yeah, man, I was at the Roosters, and everyone probably knows. Yeah, was it, man? I played to a few real quiet games when I was at the Roosters until we made the grand final, and then they all started coming out of the woodworks. But yeah, when I come to Para, yeah, I remember just the contrasting difference between the Roosters fans and the Para fans, and yeah, they're a crazy bunch. I remember 2001 was just, yeah, we had such an amazing traveling group of fans, and we'd have fan days, and yeah, the fans would all come out and real passionate. I used to live on Ross Street, just around the corner from the club, and so is that obviously at Parramatta Mall all the time. And Para fans love, yeah, I think that one of the reasons why I ended up moving to England was like, yeah, they love coming up to talk to you about the footy. Oh, what's going on with this? Or how come you didn't kick the ball on play 4 over here, and blah blah blah. So yeah, real passionate fans. And yeah, I'd say in regards to Australia, yeah, they were up there as probably the best group of fans we've had.
We know that the English fans are very parochial and passionate as well. How do they rank up against the English fans, or are they just a completely different kettle of fish?
Yeah, I think, yeah, like you said, I think the fans are kind of like the football. It's a totally different kind of game over there, and yeah, and in Australia, man, they love their footy and that, obviously. In England, there's nothing else, you know what I mean? That's why they love their soccer and that. It's yeah, it's either you support your soccer team or you do nothing else, and it's like with the rugby league over there. So, you know, their fans are pretty crazy. The other thing with England that you've got to appreciate is the stadiums are a bit smaller.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
You know, it seems like they're quite a lot more vocal, but you know, they squash them into these small stadiums and they get behind their players and sing chants and that. But yeah, I think for me, yeah, the Para fans were pretty amazing.
Well, let's get to your English career now. And you moved from New Zealand to Australia and then to England. How did you find that transition of living in the UK?
Yeah, man. It took me a while to get used to living in Sydney, and then I didn't want to leave Sydney and go to England. Yeah. And I thought I signed a contract there for 2 years at Wakefield with a 3rd-year option. And I remember leaving and saying, I'm only going to go there for 2 years and I'll come straight back. I don't want to stay in England. And I ended up staying there for 10 years. But yeah, I ended up going over there and enjoyed it. Yeah, enjoyed the football. I went from 2003 at Para, kind of falling out of favour with the coach there, with Brian Smith, to go into a club like Wakefield, who, yeah, near the bottom of the table consistently. Yeah, no one probably would have even heard of Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, but yeah, signed at Wakefield, and I was really lucky. I had a few guys that I knew that I had played with at the Roosters. Michael Porkidis and Dallas Hood were playing there, and then yeah, we had a whole heap of Australian inputs. We had Justin Ryder, who was at Newcastle, and Sydney.
Oh, yeah, the Night Rider.
Yeah, Night Rider, he was over there, and yeah, Ben Jeffries, and yeah, Jason Demetrio is the current Souths coach. So yeah, so like went to Wakefield in 2004, and I can, for myself personally, it was probably my favorite year of footy. Didn't make any rep teams, but fell in love with the game again. Yeah, probably my favorite group of guys that I got to play with in my career. So we made some great friendships there, and yeah, able to kind of enjoy my footy again and get back into playing good footy, hopefully. Yeah.
How did Jason go as a footy player?
Yeah, he's up there, man. He's amazing football player. Yeah, same kind of attitude he's got to coaching. You see him on the sideline. He's an angry man on the field. But yeah, he was a leader as well. But there's a bit of that mixture of you know, led by example. But he was a great motivator as well. Like he would train as hard as he played and push everyone to train real hard and try to bring some sense of professionalism to Wakefield. And you ask anyone from that little Yorkshire town who's their favourite player, they'll probably say it was Jason Demetriou.
They're probably South fans now too, as well, with him being the coach.
Possibly.
Did the English fans have a David Solomona song when you scored a try?
Yeah, they did, but I can't remember it, man. So I didn't score many tries there. Oh, actually, I scored a few more tries over in England than I did in Australia.
That's true. That's true. Was the Challenge Cup win for Warrington? How high does that rank in your English career?
Yeah, it's something that I'm really grateful for to have played in. Obviously, as a sportsman, you're wanting to win. You're wanting to win every comp and start every season wanting to win the competition and any trophy that's available. So yeah, I would say it ranks pretty highly. But yeah, I played at 3 clubs over in England. Each club was pretty special for me. Wakefield, I made some really great friends. In Bradford, I got to play with some people that I've always wanted to play with. People like I was talking earlier about Joe Vangana. I grew up with Joe. He was playing at Bradford, and I got to play with like Joe and Shontaine and Les, and then also with young guys like Sammy Burgess and Elliot Whitehead when I was at Bradford. And then I got to Warrington, and it was the back end of my career, so I got to play with some real older guys that were similar in age to me. So being able to go there and feel kind of like valuable and part of the club at that age, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and winning the Challenge Cup was something that was pretty special to me.
Do you rank the Challenge Cup win higher than a grand final win, or how do the English players do they think a Challenge Cup win's greater than a grand final win, or they're just completely different?
I think I'll get it, man. No one's ever asked me that on a podcast.
Okay.
So you're gonna get me in trouble here, but yeah, like I can tell you my actual view on it, and my view is no, I don't. I value the grand final higher than the Challenge Cup, and that's only because Challenge Cup's a little bit of a lottery. Although it's hard, you can win 4 games, 5 games, and get into the grand final. And everything is luck of the draw as well. You might be lucky to they pick names out of a hat after every round, and so you might be lucky to get the lowest ranked team every time until you get to the grand final. But still, it's still pretty hard. But there's a lot more tradition around the Challenge Cup in England, and there's a bit more pressure because everyone comes to the game down in Wembley, and they get a couple of thousand screaming at you at this ground, but. I guess as a football player, you're training week in, week out during preseason, and then you're playing week in, week out to win the grand final from the Super League season. So for me, I would have loved to have won a Super League title. It'd probably be the equivalent of winning an NRL Premiership and having like a 4-week comp in between that and asking, which one was more valuable. I think any player would say the week in, week out of the NRL Premiership is what you're after.
Yeah, no, that's a fair answer. Now, you played the back end of 2012 season and then retired. And in your last game, you kicked a goal. I noticed on the stats sheet. Was that right in front, or was that a 10 metres in, 30 metres out kick? Or
I'd say it's about 2 or 3 inches from the sideline. It was just to the right of the post. Yeah, I was really lucky. I think it was the last play of the game. They had the ball and they lost the ball, and we went down, ran all the way and scored a try. Yeah, I think it might have been a 60-meter try we ended up getting, and I was like, this could be my opportunity here. And they come over and asked me, do you want to kick the goal? So yeah, that's my claim to fame. Someone actually brought that up to me recently. They said, no, I seen that you kicked the goal in the game. What was that? It was my last second of my last game. I got to kick the goal.
Yeah, no, I love it when retiring players, they get the chance to do that last goal kick. Especially Hindy's one is one of my favourites. When in his last game, it was classic.
Yeah, I remember watching that recently.
Now, as I said in the intro, you played both for Samoa and New Zealand 21 times, including 2 World Cups. What was your highlight playing international football?
Yeah, both are pretty special for me. I'm I've grown up my whole life prior to moving to Australia and New Zealand. So very proud Kiwi. Always wanted to, play for the All Blacks or play for the Kiwis growing up. So being able to reach that dream was really special. And also in saying that, my family are very proud Samoans. My dad's younger brother, Marlo Fo, was the very first Tall Samoa captain.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 of my dad's brothers played for Samoa. So, I come from a lineage of family members who've been able to represent Samoa. So both of them mean a lot to me. Being able to go to the World Cup twice for Samoa is really special, and being able to tour and play for the Kiwis were both special as well. If there was a game in particular, I guess, playing for the Kiwis and beating Australia a few times,
definitely,
and winning Tri Nations was pretty special. And then I think the 2008 World Cup and being able to play against Tonga and Penrith was a pretty big game as well, and being able to win that game was pretty cool.
What's your thoughts about the possibility of the Johns brothers coaching Samoa?
Yeah, I think personally, I think it's time for a change within Samoa Rugby League. They've been going for such a long time with what they have, and I think any other organisation, any other sporting team would look at that and say, okay, we haven't been successful. What needs to be changed here? But I'll leave that up to the powers that be in regards to that. Who comes in, who doesn't? I believe at international level, you don't need to have the greatest coach there. You need a motivator, but you're not training long enough to get someone to make too much of an influence in regards to strategies or that. And most of the guys that get picked in that team are picked because they're good football players, not because the coach is trying to see how they handle playing at that level. So it'd be interesting to see who comes in, if someone does come in, or if they stay with what they've got.
What do you think of the international game? I mean, at the moment, I mean, it's been a little bit tough the last couple of years with COVID, but there's a World Cup at the end of the year. Do you think somehow there should be more international games played?
Yeah, I think it's just trying to find out when. I think the NRL season is such a tough season for clubs, but there definitely needs to be an opportunity to have more games, and I think there's enough players now. There's enough of a spread of talent across other international teams for the game to put more internationals on. I think the advent of the Pacific Test has been really good for the game, and also games such as the All-Star games and that. But I do think that there could be an opportunity to have more games from an international calendar, because in particular from our Pacific nations, there's so many talented Pacific players playing within the NRL. And not just Samoa and Tonga, like Cook Islands, Fiji, Papua New Guinea as well. And the talent pool just below that, if you look at players playing in state cup teams as well, there's enough talent within those competitions to have a few teams.
Yeah, well, let's hope we can see some more test match football these days, especially, as I said, last couple of years has been tough with COVID, but hopefully we're sort of coming out of that at the moment. Then when you retired from playing rugby league, did you have some sort of plan in mind for what you were going to do after playing, and how did you find that transition into work life, so to speak?
Yeah, I did have a plan. The job that I had, the exact job I have now, is the exact job that I was planning to go into. So I was fortunate and unfortunate in regards to I broke my leg in my last the last year that I did retire, and I did break it while I was in Australia. The Warrington team was able to play Souths in a trial game, and I broke it in the very first training session we got here. So I had a discussion straight away with the people at our careers. A beautiful lady they had working there at the time, Jane Lauder, and she was a career coach there, and she asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I want to be a welfare officer like Nigel Vangana. And she goes, all right, these are some of the stuff you need to think about doing. So just put into place some of the study options that she gave me, and ended up moving from England to Brisbane and working in schools, running mentoring programs, in the hope that this job would eventuate. But for me, the transition out of football was welcomed. Yeah, it was something that I couldn't wait to happen, and I found for myself personally, I found the transition easy because I was ready to retire. I kind of retired off the back of an injury, and also I was happy to not be stressed out about football.
Yeah.
It's not always peaches and creams playing footy. There's a tough side to it of training and the pressure of trying to stay in the team and win and find contracts every year, and also just moving my family around. Having to make my wife and my kids move from one place to another, can become quite tedious for them as well. So they welcome the transition out of football as well.
Is that something that's in your role today, that you help players plan for the future and go through that transition after playing?
Yeah, so that's exactly one of the components of the role that I have. The NRL now, I was speaking earlier about Jane Lauder, one of the ladies that have taken over now, Nicola Skinner. She works within the transition space. She's the manager there and does a great job in regards to helping players transition out of the game. It's not always easy, it's not always right, and players do still struggle with that, and it is a tough job to transition out of. But I think transitioning is tough for anyone in any walk of life. I think I found with my father just transitioning out of work life into becoming a pensioner, and seeing him struggle with not having that purpose with his job now. I think it's something that's prevalent across all walks of life. So as a footballer, it's something that I work in now, but something we're still trying to be as excellent as we can within that space, but still tough.
Well, oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Well, we wish you all the best in that role and for the future. And I've just got some common league questions brought to you by the Stubby Club, where you can order your personalised NRL merchandise, one of our sponsors, www.thestubbyclub.com.au. So take out your debut game and probably those games that we spoke about during the chat. Is there another game that stands out for you where you just thought, I just really loved that game? It was just great.
I brought it up earlier, but playing for the Roosters against Newcastle in the semi-final in 2000. We had a bit of a comeback there from, I think, being down 16 points or something against Andrew Johns and Matty Johns, Sydney Butterfield. There was for me, I can remember being on the field after the game and being like, wow, how cool is footy. And then also the following year, I think 2001, when I was at Para, we played against the Roosters. So I just left the Roosters and being able to play against them and beat them. It was a memorable game. But man, my time at Para, a lot of the clashes against the Bulldogs were memorable, and particularly around 2001, 2002. When they had such an amazing team. Like I just remember we had some crazy fans and they had some crazy fans, and I used to always be worried, oh my gosh, how's everything going to be at the ground after the game? Like, man, the Para fans are pretty crazy. So those are some memorable games we had against the Doggies as well.
Well, speaking of grounds, did you have other than your home ground, did you have a favourite ground that you used to love playing at?
I like playing at Leichhardt Oval. I actually I used to live on Perry Street, which is a street that goes down into Leichhardt Oval. I lived there with one of my mates, Kylie Luluai, who played at Para with me as well. And I used to love that ground just because it was an old ground, but the crowd was right on top of you as well. I didn't enjoy the changing room. It was a throwback changing room. But I like the Balmain home ground. Leichhardt Oval.
Did you have a least favourite ground, one you hated going and to play at for whatever reason?
I hated playing at Cronulla and I hated playing at Wollongong. I felt like I don't know why I just hated playing in Cronulla, but I felt like every time I played in Wollongong it rained. Like it was cold, or like everyone, you'd watch a game and it'd be beautiful and you could see the water in the background and I'd be like, it's never like that when I play there. So I used to hate playing down in Wollongong.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Who didn't you want to be tackled by? Who do you reckon was the hardest hitter? You mentioned Danny Williams before. Is there anyone else that stands out?
Yeah, Moz. Yeah, Adrian
Oh,
Morley. I can
yeah.
distinctly remember when Moz moved over to Australia, and then even when I was playing in England, Moz was definitely someone when you were lining up to do a hit up, you were always, okay, where is he? Okay, there he is. Okay, be careful, yeah, because Moz was someone who didn't care about his body. He just, yeah, if he was going to use his shoulder, his head, his chest, whatever, he was willing to throw it all at you.
Would he fall into that category then of the hardest player to tackle?
Hardest player that there's two guys I think for me, two hardest guys I've ever had to tackle. The first one is Petro, just in regards to how strong he was, and just it was like tackling a cement block. And then Ali Lautiti, who was at the Warriors, he was just so hard to get a hold of. Like he was big, rangy, had amazing feet, and skillful. Like, and you tackle him, and then you get up, and the ball's gone. He's passed the ball to someone or something. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a shame he didn't spend more time in the NRL. He went over to England pretty early, and who was it that you were glad that you had in your team and not in the opposition? Someone you felt like if they play, it's pretty confident we're going to win today.
Yeah, I think when I played with Freddie, I kind of felt like that. Probably someone like Hindy when I was at Para. You know, like he's someone that I always felt pretty good to play alongside of. And to be honest, man, I played with Sammy Burgess when I played with him for 3 years at Bradford, and he was only like 18, 19, 20, and even then you could tell he was going to be a star. Like I remember, when I talk about Moz smashing dudes, like Sammy was doing that when he was really young, and I think that's one of the reasons why he injured himself, because he just wouldn't even care about his body. It just shit out of the line. He was playing 80 minutes, at that age, and starting at prop, then going to second row, playing 13, coming back to prop. Like, he was someone that even at a young age, I thought. And also, man, really quick, Gaz Ellis. Yeah, Gareth Ellis. I played with Gaz at Wakey. And he was someone that I always felt confident we were going to do well, because he was such a great player as well.
Yeah, a couple of champion English imports that have played in the NRL for sure.
Yeah.
Is there someone that you would have loved to have played with in your team, or in any teams that you played for?
Yeah, I guess for myself, man, I would have loved to have played with Joey Johns. I think someone like Joey or even Darren Lockyer. Yep. Obviously, they're legends for a reason. And then probably from this new age team, probably the two JTs, Jonathan Thurston and Jason Tamalolo. I'm big fans of those two guys, and would have loved to play with them. Yeah,
definitely. Tamalolo is coming into some form this year with the Cowboys, and at the time of this recording, Parramatta plays the Cowboys this week, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on him, I think.
Keep an eye on me.
That's it. Who did you find in your teams or the opposition was the biggest pest or sledger on the field?
Oh, biggest pest, probably Michael Vella.
Okay.
Biggest to this day. Yeah, out of all the teams I've played in, some of the stuff he's done, I couldn't repeat on this podcast, but he was the biggest pest. Man, when I see Hindy on TV and I see him, the funny guy on the Matty John show, and I think, man, that was Michael Vella. He was such a funny guy, and probably the other pest might have been Fletch. Yeah, I played with Fletch, and Fletch was another pest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What did Fletch get up to?
Oh man, he's like he is now. Like he was so born to be on the show, because he's always he had nicknames for everyone. He'd do some of the most silliest things, ridiculous things, and didn't care. Yeah, so but great guy as well. You know what I mean? Could play footy as well. So
what was the nickname he gave you?
Oh no, I can't repeat his.
Yeah, okay, fair
I
enough.
couldn't repeat it. Him and Nat Wood had a nickname for me. I couldn't repeat it on here.
Okay. Well, what about a nickname? Did you have a nickname that you went by that people knew you by playing?
Just yeah, Soul, Solly, yeah, just mainly Soul. Yeah, most guys know me as Soul anyway. So
Ah, fair enough. Not a problem. Well, to wrap things up, I've got the set of six segment. It's basically sort of personality questions, and I think the first one you sort of answered already. Favorite sport outside of rugby league? Is there? You mentioned basketball before. Who's your basketball team?
yeah, I'm a massive basketball fan. So yeah, I'm a Bulls supporter.
Ah,
From
nice.
back in
Yep.
the days with Michael Jordan. But yeah, my favorite sporting team obviously is the All Blacks,
Yep.
and then Auckland Blues rugby. Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, like I love basketball, but yeah, I'm a massive rugby man. I've grown up watching rugby my whole life.
Ah, nice. What's your specialty dish in the kitchen or on the barbecue? What are you
Oh
good
man,
whipping up?
I am I am a horrible cook. I'm a single man uni student cook. Cut some chicken up and throw cantong in there. But I love a barbie. Yeah, I don't mind doing a bit of a barbie. So, bit of lamb chops on the barbie with a bit of marinade. That's probably me.
Ah, nice. Don't worry, mate. I'm not much of a cook either. To be fair, who was the
I'm a
most?
eater.
Yeah, who was the most famous person you'd love to meet that you haven't met already and have a chat with?
Um, Jeepers, I don't know. Maybe Michael Jordan. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably Michael Jordan. Yeah, again, probably massive basketball fan.
yeah. No,
And
that's fair.
yeah, he's my all time favorite sportsman. Maybe him or Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Yeah, nah, that's fair. I think I already maybe know the answer to this one, but if you were stuck on a deserted island, which three former teammates wouldn't you want with you and why? Who wouldn't you want to be stuck with? As I said, I think I know the answer. You probably pick Mickey Vella and maybe Fletch.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely put Mickey Vella. On there. Probably it took me to death. If he was on there. I played with a Fijian bloke named Simi Tadjilala over at Warrington. He used to have fuzzy hair. Played at the Storm,
Okay.
and he'd fall asleep everywhere we went. So he'd probably be the worst guy to have on the. I think he'd spend the whole time sleeping, waking up, asking us what are we going to eat, and then yeah, I think my last one would be I played with Michael Monaghan over in
Oh yeah.
Warrington, and he's dead set one of the grumpiest guys I've ever met in my life. So if I was looking for a bit of a laugh or something, it'd be the last person that I'd have on the island. So yeah, hopefully Mick could cheer him up if he was there. But yeah, Michael Monaghan.
Yeah, maybe that means he's a grumpy coach as well. I think he's that Manly assistant coach.
He is a bit grumpy sometimes, old Monas.
Now, if you were a rugby league player growing up, was there a job or profession that you wanted to do?
Like in rugby league or?
Well, no, like so growing up, if you weren't a rugby league player,
All right then.
yeah, if you didn't follow that path,
Yep.
Is there a job that you might have wanted to do?
Yeah, I wanted to be a policeman.
Okay.
Yeah, probably wanted to be a policeman growing up. Yeah, I don't know why. I just think I thought it was a cool job. It would be nice to pull over some of my family members. So
Would you let them go or just?
it just depends what they're doing. You know what I mean? But yeah, probably policeman would be would have been my dream job growing up.
Ah, nice. Now the last one. Who is your favourite band or solo artist to listen to?
My favorite band. Jeepers, it's a tough one. I love a few bands, to be honest, but I love a bit of Coldplay.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, man, I've got such an eclectic taste of music. Yeah, if I could watch one person live, dead or alive, it'd probably be Bob Marley. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I love a bit of Bob Marley music. Yeah.
What's your favourite Bob song?
Cat Fits, probably. Yeah. Yeah. So I love heaps of the songs.
Yeah, nice. Nice. Well, David Solomona, thank you very much for joining me here on the Parramatta podcast today. I really enjoyed the chat and appreciate your time, and I'm sure the fans will love it too. And it's great to chat to a player who played at the club I love in Parramatta, and as I said in the intro, being the 75th anniversary, a player who played a part in its history as well. I hope one day to catch up in person and say good day. So, David Solomona, thank you very much for coming on the Parramatta podcast today.
No, thank you very much, Troy, for allowing me to come on here. And I just want to end by saying, man, I loved my time at Para. Yeah, it was probably one of my favorite times of my sporting career. The 3 years I spent there, really enjoyed it. And seeing your jersey that you're wearing there brings back some.
Yeah, I thought I'd whack on the old Asics jersey there.
Yeah, it brings back some really good memories, man. My daughter, my eldest daughter, was born when I was at Parramatta. My eldest daughter in this photo here.
Yep.
So she's a massive Para fan because she was born when we were there. So it's always going to hold a special place in my heart, man.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Troy. Thank you.